So I was going to start with, there's a little mini introduction between myself and Elizabeth. To anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Deborah Curtis, and I'm a community arts producer with 20 years experience. Some of the roots of my work can be found in the influence of the street markets of the 1990s with Joshua Compston, and later with Gavin Turk, myself and other artists who produced Livestock Market in Shoreditch, and then the Articultural Show on the South Bank. And the Art Car Boot Fair has picked the baton from these actions, and both Gavin and I, Gavin being my husband, have been involved in the Art Car Boot Fair ever since. The spirit of these artist-led commerce and this artist-led commerce, kind of as we're experiencing the interesting, gorgeous, creative chaos of the commercial artist-led action, is an exciting space to be around, although it's kind of a little bit stressful sometimes. So I was going to, I'm in conversation with Elizabeth Forster, and I was just going to get her to say a couple of words about her, and then we're going to introduce what we're up to at House Fairy Tales with the Great Imagining.
Okay, I'm Elizabeth Forster, and I've known Deborah for maybe 15 years or so, and my background's primarily in working with charities over the past 20 odd years, all sorts, mostly educational, lots of different educational avenues. Currently now working as the executive director of the Stephen Hawking Foundation. So of my many different hats and experiences through events, fundraising and the like, led me to the professor, no less, and helped him establish the foundation, launch it, come up with a wish list of things that he'd liked for his sort of legacy, and presented those before he died, and some of which have been funded, very interesting educational projects in the north of England that have to do with space camps and residentials and very creative, immersive, sort of interesting ways of presenting astrophysics to primary school students, and then and a number of other few things that we've done. So there's still a number of things on his wish list that we hope to achieve, but other than that, very exciting affiliation and talking to Deborah about the Great Imagining, which does sort of connect, interestingly, to some of the work that I've been doing with educational charities. So there you go.
So, well, I'm going to just introduce a little bit about what the Great Imagining is. I don't know if anyone here has actually been on the website we set up, but if you go on www.thegreatimagining.org, you can find out more. This project's evolved out of 20 years of doing community arts projects with children, young people's imaginations, and looking at how we can kind of get all those soft skills going with imagination, creativity, and critical thinking, and confidence building, and teamwork, and lots of the things which actually are kind of a little bit not always present in the school experience and in the national curriculum, and often not present in the home life of a lot of young people. So looking at how those amazing experiences that we have put together over a long period of time, involving hundreds of different kind of artists and creatives and scientists and academics and so on. So the work that we've been doing for all that time has been kind of in various incarnations, working with different kinds of partners from institutions, galleries, museums, the National Trust, Royal Shakespeare Company, and so on, and has been primarily based around events, but we've also done exhibitions that have been open for 6 months with interactive trails and interactive exhibits, school programs. We've done quite a few different programs within school settings. Sometimes the biggest one we did was 104 schools in London. We've done kind of things with newspapers and publications, which have worked in a very different way, pulling together making a kind of collaborative platform for different communities. There was one particular one we did as part of the Edinburgh Arts Festival, where we were working with linking the community centres in the biggest estates, in the big social housing estates in Edinburgh, with the kind of the amazing work that goes on as part of the Edinburgh Art Festival and the Edinburgh the Fringe Festival during August. So putting that together into a magazine, a newspaper that got then distributed back out to schools. So there's always been a process of kind of crossing between education and the community. I have had a paradigm shift about a year and a half ago, where I personally kind of got the environmental thing more kind of full frontal, although that's always been part of the work I've been doing. And I realized that somehow we needed to kind of get the work to more people, and it needed to really focus on the urgency of our current global crises, which are multiple and many, and I think I don't need to talk to you about what those things are. So the Great Imagining is a very, very quick summary, is a 2-week plug-in to the secondary school curriculum. We'll adapt it later for primary schools, but starting with secondary schools. And it will be a kind of complete whole school immersive experience involving everyone from the teachers to the support staff to the canteen workers to the cleaners, all working with the students to create a fully a very exciting and very kind of creative evocation of a set of thoughts and learning around future thinking, and it will be inspired by a kind of syllabus which we are kind of seeing as the landscape within which this new school environment is populated, with all the thinking around everything from quantum mechanics to clothing supply chains to kind of fossil fuel systems to kind of whatever else might affect our ability to continue to exist on this planet, and within that all the kind of other topics that affect a contemporary society around inclusion, around unconscious bias, around jobs for the future. There's a kind of a few different things which I use as my case for to talk about how important this kind of work is. So I've already mentioned the climate and ecological emergency. There's a kind of big set of thinking around teaching for creativity, where our schools are atrophying in that area. There's artists other art Boot Fair artists like Bob and Roberta Smith, who are very big on this topic. And the Arts Council has just recently commissioned the Durham report, which is a pedagogic research paper into how to bring more teaching for creativity into the classroom. Then there's the jobs for the future, which I just touched on, which is thinking like, what do our young people, what kind of world are they going into? And within that, there's kind of a whole set of thinking around like empowerment and agency and think of yourself, and all of those things are part of the previous discussions, but citizenship and actively understanding what kind of industries that might be being created in the future. Then there's a whole load of stuff around, well-being and happiness and contentment, the mental health issues within our schools, within our general society is reflected in our schools, and in the kind of the sense of what the future might hold for our young people, and also the pressures that are on them from the community, from a society that seems to have lost its mind. And then the kind of whole thing around diversity and inclusion and unconscious bias, which is also what I mentioned just now with the this year's kind of a big awakening around Black Lives Matter and so on. So I think I've kind of like sort of set the stage. Is there anything else that I might have mentioned in that setting the stage bit of the conversation?
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
So I very briefly, I mean, Elizabeth, you can add anything that I haven't touched on, but we're at the research and development stage of the project. Next year will be the pilots and creating all the syllabus and the curriculum pathways within which this and the digital platform within which this will be able to take place. And at the moment we're just putting feelers out for looking at kind of the support and the kind of how the co-creation of this will happen and how the collaborations will happen. So we're talking to academics and experts such as Elsa Lee from the National Association of Environmental Education, Phil Gittings from World Beyond War, and quite a few other people that we're in conversation with, educationalists such as Brian Message, who's the sponsor, and Andrew Golding, who's the CEO of ACES Academies, who are giving us feedback on from their perspective running a multi Academy Trust, and then funders and cultural producers such as Sigrid Kirk, Rebecca King-Lasserman, Richard Greer, and Nicola Sirota. We're sort of talking to all of those people about kind of different ways of putting together the kind of the funding strategy. Then we're also talking to regional partners who will ultimately be delivering this, because we're decentralizing the support system for the schools, and such people as Helen Tipley from Hall for Cornwall, Jess Prendergast and the team from Onion Collective in Somerset, Mike Pryor and the consortium of active organisations in the Kirklees region, Sarah Burden, Rowan Hoban at Wild Rumpus in Stoke-on-Trent, Jane Simpson in Swansea, starting to explore how we might work with the Arts Council funded bridge organisations network, and linking in with all the kind of the people on the ground who are doing kind of community-based work, and then the artists and creatives that we've already worked with over the years, and many more that we haven't worked with, because we want to get all the best people to work on this project, because I love to see the curriculum pathways being designed by Punch Drunk and Coney and Wildworks and hey, let's go for Danny Boyle and whatever, getting Steve McQueen involved in thinking about how the syllabus might work, just all of that stuff. Then you can contact us through there, or Deborah@houseoffairytales.org. I'm very happy to answer individual questions. I'd love to Zoom with anyone. We're all on Zoom. The other thing I say is that obviously at the moment we're sort of, so we're raising money. Oh, I can see it now. So we're raising money, selling art today, but also going forward, we always have. We've just set up a little campaign on Just Giving. We're going to be doing other kind of fundraising campaigns in the future. We're also looking for anyone who wants to give us any kind of like a skills or experience share. Once we start kind of getting the financial support, we can look at kind of who's in what paid roles. But I think at the moment, any support we can have for this project will be gratefully received. So I don't know if anybody's got any kind of thoughts about or questions, and I think whether this is on Facebook Live or whether this is on YouTube or or just on the Zoom, I genuinely love to kind of like hear your thoughts. If you know education people, that would be great. If you know academics who are very specialist in their field, we're researching and reaching out every day now, so would be great to hear any kind of new ideas around that. And I don't know, like we're 4 minutes away from winding up. It's very difficult to fit it into 20 minutes. Elizabeth, is there anything you want to add to anything I've said?
I think that's exactly that. I think that really at this stage, given its research and development that we're looking hard at, and this sense of collectiveness that we would like as many, certainly Deborah and myself, as much input as possible from the creative world, from the science world, from educationalists to wherever they come from, because it's quite a shift that this is positing. Really looking at kind of, albeit Deborah's likely says it's a 2-week plug-in. I think the eventual bigger plan is really shifting the whole educational system in the UK, changing it quite radically. So should this work, we need as much traction and as people and sort of we need backup, lots more folks involved, I think. I
mean, it's quite interesting because just yesterday I was speaking to somebody about the report that the government had commissioned, like which is quite remarkable in its ambition. I'm curious to see how that's going to be applied, but which is looking at kind of community grassroots initiatives and how to sort of like kind of support things that are decentralizing activities and bringing in kind of more input from local communities. So there is kind of some will in the government to look at and support all of that in the face of lots of other kind of stuff that's going on and preoccupying our government's sort of input and time. So it's about joining all the dots and saying this is something that can really support the education system through a CPD teacher training kind of process, but also by creating a 2-week amazing immersive experience that the entire school can feel transformed by, and then can invite in their community, the local businesses, the politicians, the families, to come and experience and be transformed themselves, because we need those young brains to be like the supercomputer that can kind of then drive that transformation within the sort of the population of the UK and beyond.